Hey there everybody, taking a quick break during my sidewalk sale. Wanted to do a short video, as short as I can make it, about this awesome Gretsch Dorado Made in Japan Hoshino-K Star drum set. 1973, made in Japan drums, super cool. And again, very unlikely that you'll find one of these, as they were only offered in the Gretsch 1973 catalog. And very cool to see these original badges on this drum set. Dorado by Gretsch, made in Japan. Super cool. Anyone in the know, anyone that's kind of a nerdy MIJ collector or Gretsch collector, or just somebody that loves vintage drums, yeah, I doubt you'd be disappointed in having this in your collection, even just for the badge. But this set is really cool. This is a 22-13-16. This, I believe, is silver sparkle that has faded and ginger railed. And you can see some of the discoloration as it sat in somebody's living room, in the window, probably in the sun. I got this from the second owner. And they got it from the first owner, who basically did not play it. This set has really not been played at all. I can tell that no one has really played it. And even these original blue Evans hydraulic heads from the 70s or 80s, whenever these heads in this logo was active, these heads have been on this set for a long time, and the set does sound good. And of course, again, these are very thick drum heads, but nonetheless though, yeah, tons of mojo, tons of vibe. What's really cool about this set is that it does have Gretsch style reverse countercut 30-degree bearing edges on all the drums, and the shells are a little bit thicker, much thicker than you normally would find. And so they have that typical Gretsch countercut edge. All the edges are beautiful. Again, the edges or the shells in general are a little bit thicker. There's no reinforcement rings, which I prefer. Nice pure tone. So if you decide to change heads and all of that, you should have an easy time getting a great sound, whether you're tuning this low or medium or high. I do have a couple snare drums for sale. This did not come with the original matching snare. I'm sure you could find one. I have a cheap snare for sale, and then I have a more expensive trick aluminum snare for sale. This set is not damaged. It has no modifications. It's not missing any of its parts. All the tension rods match. All the T's and claws match. None of the T's are bent at all, which is amazing. These are the original metal 70s hoops, which is era correct for a lot of 70s sets. And again, 9x13 factory 8-lug tom. Yes, for those in the know, yep, you're looking at a factory 8-lug 9x13 tom. Very cool mount tom. And this is a factory 16x16 8-lug, and then your 14x22 bass drum is actually a 10-lug. Anyone interested in having me ship this, obviously it's going to be a pretty penny if you're in California or somewhere, you know, a little bit further away from Chicago. And even though I have a lot of experience working in vintage drum shops and shipping drums and cymbals and hardware, I'll do my best, but it's still going to be a pretty penny depending on where you're at. I would prefer local pickup, but I can carefully take this apart, nest it as best I can, and probably get it down to 2 boxes. And let's see here, the other thing that's really cool is it did come with the original consolette key and 2 matching drum keys. The other drum key is in that pouch there. Super cool that the original consolette key is there. The rail consolette works fantastic, and as you can tell, it's in great condition, all original, all the pieces are there, and it works tremendously well. And it holds nice and tight. Doubt you'd be disappointed. And again, all the chrome is in beautiful condition, and it came to me that way. The drum set was already very clean, so you don't have any pitting or corrosion or rust on any of the lugs. or tension rods or the rail or the floor tom leg mounts, yeah, you'll be able to just basically pull it right out of the boxes, and with whatever tuning and or head choice you want, you'll be ready to go. Doing my best to make sure I'm not forgetting anything else. And again, these thick, awesome Evans blue hydraulic heads. Thanks for dealing with my bad filmmaking. My tripod broke, so I'm just kind of doing things by hand. This is a 16-inch maxi-tone cymbal that came with the set. Nothing to write home about. This is a no-name, very, very cheap, I believe, 14-inch bottom hi-hat. And then these are the original hats that came with it, very cheap. Stands are nothing to write home about, but they are the original stands and bass drum pedal. Cymbal stands are very thin, lightweight. They work great. One of them has a little bit of a bend in this top tube. Not a big deal. Still functions fine. Nothing is stripped. And I believe you even have a Japan stamp on one of the washers. Underneath the floor tom leg mount brackets, it actually is stamped Japan under here as well, which is kind of cool. These are the original leg brackets. These are the original legs. Your bass drum leg mounts work great and solid. Legs are the right size and length. You should have no issues. Drum set sets up nice and sturdy. Bass drum leg mounts are very similar to a vintage Slingerland. And so you have Slingerland style legs, and then you have leady style looking lugs. Classic T-rods that also kind of have a Slingerland look. And again, the faded silver sparkle that's ginger aled and discolored and kind of spotted here and there just looks awesome. The inlay on the metal hoops is in there tight, so when you change heads and take off the bass drum hoops, the inlay won't be flopping around. You should be just fine. There are mufflers on the mount tom tom, and it does function just fine. And for those that can't tell, it is moving. Nothing to write home about. Same thing with the floor tom muffler. Works fine, it's there, it turns, does what it needs to do. Nothing to write home about. And once again, bearing edges on both sides are wonderful. Rims and hoops are in round and lie flat. Shells are in round. Don't think you'll have any issues. And a very cool made in Japan set from 1973. Really unlikely you'll probably find a lot of Gretsch made in Japan Dorado sets. I'm in Chicago. I happen to find this in Chicago. This came with a really cool old 20-inch 40s or 50s trans stamp Zildjian A, which I'm keeping, as you can imagine. Really want to get this to a good home, and thanks for dealing with my sidewalk sale video. It's been great. It's been a couple great days, and wishfully the rain will hold off tomorrow and Sunday, and this very well may be sold. If not, feel free to email me. I'll include my email in the comments section as well as underneath the title heading in the YouTube video. This is on Chicago Craigslist and on a couple of the other Facebook drum pages including the Made in Japan Facebook page. So this is out there, and my price point reflects the fact that this would be a little bit harder of a Made in Japan set to find. And all clean, all original, no extra holes, no modification. Feel free to message me about price. Doing my best to be super fair. Local pickup encouraged. Shipping will cost you, probably a decent buck, but it'll be worth it. Yes, you'll be able to play this basically right out of the boxes. These heads are kind of thick. You probably want something with a little bit more sustain. But if you had to open these up out of the box and take them on a gig, you could. All right, I'm doing my best to think if there's anything else. Keep in mind I'm outside right now, as I just mentioned, so I'm not going to do a full video of pausing and then taking off, the rims to show the edges. The edges are beautiful. The shells are a little bit thicker, which is really cool. Again, no reinforcement rings. And the wood, I'm imagining the shells are made probably from a combination of Lawan wood and mahogany. I really wouldn't know. Some of you might know a little bit better than I. And as far as a lot of the info that I've dug up, as far as vintage drum, info about this set, basically, not so modern drummer and a couple other places. Nobody's really seen a lot of these. And it was just noted basically that, in the catalog, you can order a Gretsch import Dorado Made in Japan set. And at the same time, Gretsch was putting out a Dorado line of guitars. And I wouldn't be surprised if the drums are maybe a little bit nicer than the guitars. I've only come across a couple folks with the guitars. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. Doubt you'd be disappointed. All the seams on the wrap are tight, so you should have no issues with any of that. And nothing is stripped or broken. And yeah, very cool Made in Japan set, 1973. Dorado by Gretsch, Made in Japan. 22, 13, 16. Faded silver sparkle. Lots of mojo. You'll probably be the only person on the planet with a Gretsch Dorado Made in Japan set, for those that really want a very cool one-off set and a cool one-off Made in Japan set. And this would have predated the Blackhawk line. So anyone that's really, really into Gretsch and Gretsch history, most of us are super nerds over Round Badge, Early Broadcaster, USA Custom, and of course the new Round Badge, new USA Custom, new Broadcaster, new Brooklyn. And there's a lot of folks that love the Gretsch import stuff, the Modern Renown series, and all the different versions of that. People are really into that stuff, so I'm sure somebody will be really into this. I'm a pretty big drum nerd myself and play full time. I'm primarily into vintage Gretsch Round Badge, vintage Gretsch USA Custom, vintage Broadcaster. I do have some other vintage Gretsch and vintage cymbals for sale on some other parts, so feel free to inquire. And again, this would have predated the Blackhawk line. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if this would be a lot nicer than some of the other, just lower quality, cheaper import stuff. But yeah, a few folks chimed in and said that yes, this would have been, well before they came up with their Broadcaster line. Okay, all right, that's about it. Wishfully this helps. The shells do all look beautiful on the inside with no issues and no extra holes. And yeah, for those that are interested in Made in Japan sets, there you go. All right. Thanks for dealing with my bad video. I at least just wanted to get something going as I'm doing my best to sell some gear. All right. Thanks again.